You are the master of your fate. Let's begin. Everyone tells you to ignore your inner critic, to push past the negativity. They tell you to just think positive and that all will be well. But I have seen that this approach rarely works. It is like telling a man to ignore a tiger in his house. The tiger is still there, isn't it? The voice of your self-doubt is not something you can simply wish away. It is a powerful force, and it must be dealt with directly. But what if the very thing holding you back holds the key to unlocking your true potential? Prepare to see your self-doubt in an entirely new light, as we uncover a profound philosophy that teaches you not just to quiet, but to leverage that inner voice for unparalleled growth and success. I will show you how to turn your greatest weakness into a powerful asset, and your loudest critic into your greatest ally. There is a conversation happening in your mind right now. It is a quiet, persistent monologue of doubt, of fear, of everything you believe you cannot do and everything you are not. This is your inner critic, and it is a powerful, ubiquitous force. It tells you that you are not ready, that you are not smart enough, that you are not worthy of the life you desire. It whispers that your ideas are foolish and that your efforts are in vain. This is the voice that keeps you small, that keeps you from taking the first step, and that holds you captive in a life of inaction and unfulfilled dreams. It is a voice we all know, and it is the first barrier to all achievement. This critic is not born of a single moment, but from a lifetime of influences. It is a composite of every moment someone told you to be realistic, every time you failed and took it as a personal condemnation, and every doubt you have ever held about yourself. Modern psychologists will tell you it's an evolutionary byproduct, a primal mechanism designed to keep you safe by avoiding risk. But I tell you this, what was once a tool for survival has become a cage for your potential. It is a force of habit, and like any habit, it can be mastered. The greatest tragedy is not that this voice exists, but that so many people listen to it as if it were the absolute truth. They confuse its whispers with reality. They allow it to dictate their actions, their decisions, and their destiny. They believe that their worth is defined by their mistakes and that their future is limited by their past. This is the ultimate self-betrayal. You are a person of infinite potential, and yet you allow a phantom voice in your own mind to convince you otherwise. To master your life, you must first master this voice. To achieve your goals, you must first disarm your own thoughts. There is no external enemy that can hold you back with greater power than the one you have allowed to take root inside your own mind. The first step toward freedom is to recognize this voice for what it is, a liar. I have always viewed the mind as the ultimate battlefield. It is here that every victory and every defeat is first decided. I saw this truth proven in the lives of the greatest men of my day, Carnegie, Edison, Ford. They were not born without self-doubt. They were not immune to the whispers of fear and negativity. They were simply masters of their own minds. They understood a fundamental principle. To achieve absolute control over the world around you, you must first achieve absolute mastery over the world within you. They did not ignore the negative influences, whether they came from the outside world or from the voice in their own heads. They did not pretend they did not exist. They controlled them. They understood that the mind is not a passive vessel. It is a powerful instrument that can either work for you or against you. The average man allows his mind to be filled with the idle chatter of others, with the fears of the day, and with the lies of his own inner critic. He spends his mental energy worrying about what might go wrong, instead of directing it toward what must go right. The masters of industry I studied never allowed this. They built a mental fortress around their definite purpose, and they permitted no negative thought to enter it. They saw a negative thought not as a fact, but as a saboteur. This mastery is not a gift, it is a discipline. It is the conscious daily practice of controlling your thoughts and directing your mental energy. It is the understanding that what you think about, you bring about. If you allow your mind to be filled with doubt, you will attract the circumstances that confirm that doubt. If you fill your mind with faith and a definite plan, you will attract the circumstances that lead to success. The first and most important step to achieving your goals is to achieve absolute control over your own thoughts. You cannot build an empire on a foundation of self-doubt. You must first clear the mental ground, lay a foundation of unwavering faith, and then begin to build. The victory you seek is first won in your mind before you ever lift a finger to achieve it. I once knew a brilliant inventor who was plagued by self-doubt. He possessed a mind capable of seeing solutions where others saw only problems. He would work on a new invention for weeks, meticulously designing and building. He'd get agonizingly close to a breakthrough, only to have his inner critic whisper to him, "This is a foolish idea. You are wasting your time. It will never work." And in that moment, he would abandon the project, leaving his work unfinished, his potential unrealized. He'd move on to a new idea, only to repeat the same cycle of hope, effort, and surrender. He had a graveyard of half-finished inventions in his workshop. Each one was a testament not to a lack of talent, but to a crippling surrender to his inner critic. I sat with him one day, surrounded by the ghosts of his brilliant ideas, and I told him a profound truth I learned from my studies of great men. The man who is defeated in his own mind is defeated before he begins. His greatest obstacle was not the difficulty of the task, but the weakness of his own thoughts. His inner critic was not a voice of reason, it was a saboteur, designed to keep him from the very success he was destined to achieve. This man had convinced himself that his self-doubt was a sign of intellectual humility, a necessary check on his own ambition. But it was not. It was a poison. It was the result of a mind that had been left unguarded, a mind that had allowed negative influences to take root and flourish. He had confused the feeling of doubt with the certainty of failure. He had failed to realize that every successful man I ever knew had to face the very same voice. The difference was, they chose not to listen. They had built a mental fortress so strong that the whispers of their own inner critics could not penetrate it. I had to teach this man to stop negotiating with his fears and to begin acting on his purpose, regardless of the noise. His greatest project was not a physical invention, but the reconstruction of his own mind. The inner critic thrives in the absence of definite purpose. When your mind has no clear goal to focus on, it defaults to a state of fear and uncertainty. It is a biological mechanism. In the absence of a clear objective, the mind, in its desire to keep you safe, begins to fill the void with every reason you should not move forward. It points out every potential danger, every possible failure, every flaw in your plan and in your character. The wandering mind is a breeding ground for self-sabotage, and the inner critic is its most powerful tool. Consider this. A ship without a rudder is at the mercy of the winds and the waves. It will be tossed and turned, its journey dictated not by its destination, but by the chaos of the sea. Your mind is the ship. Your inner critic is the storm. Your definite purpose is the rudder. When you have a single, clear, unwavering goal, your mind has something to latch onto. It has a reason to move forward. It has a mission. And when it is engaged in the pursuit of that mission, it has no time for the idle chatter of fear and self-doubt. I observed this in the life of Henry Ford. He was not a man who was easily swayed. When he faced a challenge, he did not allow his mind to be filled with doubt. He had a singular, unwavering purpose, to build a motor car for the masses. This definite purpose was so powerful that it became a mental compass, guiding his every thought and every action. He had critics, both from the outside world and likely from his own inner voice, but they had no power over him because his purpose was too strong. He was too busy building his dream to listen to the whispers of his fears. The greatest antidote to internal chaos is a single, clear, unwavering purpose. It is the lighthouse that guides your thoughts through the storm. It is the solid ground upon which you build your empire. Without it, you are a person of good intentions, but no results. With it, you are a force of nature. Your purpose gives you a reason to act. And in the face of action, the inner critic begins to lose its voice. Everyone tells you to ignore your inner critic. I say, do not ignore it. Transmute it. This is a profound difference. To ignore something is to pretend it doesn't exist, to let it fester. To transmute something is to take its energy and channel it into a new, more powerful form. The very energy of your self-doubt can be channeled into a powerful force for creation. It is the fuel that can propel you forward, but only if you learn to direct it. This is the Hill method of transmutation. The next time that voice tells you, you can't do this, you will not argue with it. You will not try to convince it otherwise. You will simply and immediately respond with a definite action that proves it wrong. You will use the very negative energy of the doubt to fuel a positive, purposeful step. Let me give you an example. A man wishes to start a new business. His inner critic tells him, you are not an expert. You don't know enough to succeed. Instead of sitting in that doubt, he takes the very next step he knows he must take. He makes a phone call to a potential client. He registers the business name. He writes down the first 3 steps of his plan. He proves his critic a liar, not with an argument, but with a result. Each action, no matter how small, is a direct, deliberate counterpunch to the voice of doubt. It is the action that disarms the critic, not the argument. This process is not a one-time event. It is a discipline. It is the conscious, daily practice of using doubt as your signal for action. When you feel the whisper of fear, you know that is the exact moment to take a definitive step forward. This is the ultimate form of mental control. You have taken a negative force and bent it to your will. You have turned an internal saboteur into an external motivator. The master of his mind is not the one who has no doubts, but the one who has learned to use his doubts as a catalyst for growth and achievement. You have a powerful, often misunderstood tool at your disposal: autosuggestion. Your subconscious mind believes what you consistently feed it. It does not discern between a truth and a lie. It simply accepts the commands you give it. If you feed it doubt, it will produce the circumstances and the actions that confirm that doubt. If you feed it faith, it will produce the courage and the conviction that lead to success. The moment your inner critic speaks, I want you to respond with a powerful, purpose-driven affirmation. This is not a vague, I am great statement. It must be specific, definite, and aligned with your chief aim. When the voice says, you can't close this deal, you must respond with, I am a master closer, and I have a definitive plan to secure this deal. When the voice says, you're not a writer, you must respond, I am a writer, and I am putting in the sustained effort to write 1,000 words today. This is the practice of planting a new seed in the fertile ground of your subconscious mind. With each repetition, you are building a new mental fortress against the negative influences of your inner critic. The inner critic operates on old information, on past failures and conditioned fears. Autosuggestion gives you the power to update that information. You are consciously, deliberately creating a new, more powerful mental blueprint for your life. The ultimate weapon against the inner critic is not logic, but faith, unwavering, unshakable belief in your own abilities and your own definite purpose. Faith is a state of mind that disarms the inner critic's power. It turns the whispers of doubt into background noise. Faith is a fire that burns so brightly that it casts no shadows. It is the unshakable conviction that you are a person of action and that your destiny is secure. You build this faith through consistent action and the constant practice of autosuggestion. This is not an act of magic. It is an act of mental engineering, and it is the only way to achieve true, lasting mastery over your own mind. The ultimate weapon against the inner critic is not logic, but faith. Unwavering, unshakable belief in your own abilities. This is not a vague religious concept. It is a psychological state of mind. It is a profound, deep-seated conviction that you are a person of worth and that your definite purpose is achievable. When this faith takes root in your mind, the inner critic's power is broken. It turns the whispers of doubt into nothing more than background noise. You hear it, but you do not listen to it. I have seen men who possess great talent but lacked faith, and they accomplished nothing. I have also seen men who had little talent but possessed an unwavering faith, and they accomplished miracles. Faith is the silent force that propels you forward when logic and reason have run out. It is a fire that burns so brightly that it casts no shadows. It is the conviction that even if you fail, you will learn from the failure and begin again. It is the unshakable knowledge that you are a person of action and that your destiny is secure. You build this faith through a consistent, deliberate practice. You build it by taking action in the face of doubt. You build it by choosing to believe in your purpose more than you believe in your fears. This is the final battle. It is the final act of mastery. To live a life of achievement, you must first build a mind of unwavering faith. Key takeaways and action steps. 1. The mind as a battlefield. Understand that your mind is the most important field of battle. To win in the world, you must first win within. The inner critic is a powerful force, but you can control it. 2. The antidote. A definite chief aim is the ultimate antidote to self-doubt. When your mind has a clear purpose, it has no room for fear. 3. The master key. Transmute your doubt into action. Every time your inner critic speaks, respond with a direct, intentional, and purposeful action that proves it wrong. 4. Your assignment. Right now, write down your single most important goal. Then, for the next 7 days, every time you hear a voice of doubt, immediately take a single step, no matter how small, toward that goal. Do not debate with the critic, just act. Remember, your success begins the moment you decide to act.